Welcome to Evolve, everybody, where we focus on the evolution of leadership. And I'm Kim Ford, your host. And I'm really excited to have a special guest today. Do you mind taking a second to introduce yourself, your background, your company? Give us a general idea of who you are.
Sure. Thank you so much. My name is Adam Alfia with realtimefeedback.com, which I've been working on for the last 4 or 5 years. Before then, and still now, my 9 to 5 was, and sometimes is, I have a company called Maestro that's a virtual personal assistant company with our biggest footprint in the automotive space. So think OnStar. We do the same thing that OnStar did for GM for non-GM vehicles. And our current clients are Nissan, Infiniti, Mitsubishi, and Subaru. So if you have one of those cars, you push a button in the car, that comes to my call center here in Dallas, which when we help you with pretty much anything you need, from restaurant reservations to, hey, I need to book a trip, or my wife is vegan and we need to find a restaurant in Spain while we're there. So we pretty much help you with anything, anytime, anywhere. And I've been doing that for about 17 years. So it's really given me a really good pulse on customer engagement and making sure that people are happy when they call, when our agents are happy, because you can hear people smile over the phone. A lot of people don't realize that when you call somewhere that, you want to make sure you're smiling because customers can hear it. So we have a very, very white glove type of service that we want you to, when you get off the phone, go, wow, that was such a great experience. And that really is what led me to start the real time feedback platform, which is what I'm doing now.
Wow, that's awesome. So, is real time feedback, is that kind of a virtual or personal assistant as well?
No, that is a two-way guest and engagement program where customers at any business that utilize our platform can actually communicate directly with the manager in real time for any issues they might have, or even compliments. So if you ever been at a store and you saw, let's say you're at a grocery store and you see somebody spilled a bag of rice somewhere, and you're walking around trying to find somebody to tell, or you're standing in line at the cashier and there's only two registers open and there's 10 people in line, and you don't want to get out of line to call somebody to help because you don't want to lose your place in line. So we use QR codes to put in businesses where any customer can scan the QR code, and then he or she has a direct line of communication to a manager to let them know about an experience or about something. And it's all digital, and the manager gets it and they can respond, and the customer gets a text message. So it's a really cool in the moment type of engagement. But we found is that employees have uh, put in just as many feedbacks as customers do, because a lot of times they don't get the ear of management, or a lot of times they might have anxiety about complaining to a manager about a work environment or something like that. And being that our platform can be sent anonymously, they can actually voice their concerns to management all in real time and know that a manager got their feedback.
Wow. Now tell me, why does customer service matter? I mean, I sit here as a business owner, B2B, and for me, customer service is everything, right? But, a lot of people would think when I go to the grocery store, you just get what you get, right? You're there to get your grocery. Like, is there a bigger picture here that people might be missing?
Yeah, so if you think about it, I mean, online, especially during the pandemic, really took off. So you have a lot of businesses that have, brick and mortar footprints, that they need those, for grocery stores, etc. Movie theaters that are, starting to also die away. But, it's really, really important that if and when you decide to get in your car or an Uber and make that trip to a brick and mortar location, that your experience is great, because otherwise you say, why am I even here? I'll just buy it online. It might take me a little bit longer to get, but I don't want to deal with rude employees and traffic and waiting in line and all that stuff. So really, businesses that want to thrive and survive in the new economy of being able to give a great experience when customers walk in your store, because it's right now it's a double whammy. It's a customers are just now getting back into brick and mortar locations, and you have a really, really big challenge right now on getting quality employees. I mean, a lot of businesses are just getting warm bodies. Hey, if you can breathe and talk, come on in, we're hiring. They're giving bonuses away now for, at McDonald's, $1,000 sign-in bonuses just to so that you're going to get a less quality employee to now deal with your customers. That customer is not going to have a great experience. And how do you know about that? And that's, where feedback comes in, where there are problem areas in your store that your customers can now be your eyes and ears and alert you about any issues from, rude employees. Hey, your bathroom doesn't have soap. There's a toilet overflowing. So these are things that we take for granted as customers, but operationally, a lot of businesses have to make schedules for, hey, go check the parking lot, go check the bathroom, go check
Right.
this. So now when your customers are eyes and ears and alert you about things, you can take the limited workforce that you have and put those to the problem areas rather than just walking aimlessly throughout the store looking for issues. Your customers are now telling you.
Right. Or creating issues that don't exist, right? Because it's on a schedule, but that schedule,
Right.
because you didn't have the volume, isn't really affected by what you expected. I would think at it from the business owner or the store manager's perspective as well, that getting that real-time feedback should really be beneficial, because wouldn't that shape what tomorrow looks like and where they really need to improve and where there's weaknesses and what maybe the consumer wants in many ways as well?
Right. So we just launched. So we have a large footprint in the arena space. We have about 50 different arenas around the country. Some actually, we have a couple international ones where they put QR codes during an event. So, if I'm a guest at an event, at a concert, whatever it is, and my chair is broken, or there's a drunk fan behind me yelling obscenities or whatever it is, rather than getting out of my seat and going find security, they actually flash a QR code on the jumbotron periodically throughout the event. And they say, if there's anything that we need to know, let us know immediately. They scan the QR code, and that comes to a central dispatcher that can then route whatever it is, security or maintenance, etc. They even have him on all the suites, where if I'm in a suite with a group or a business associate, I can now, if I want more nachos or if I want anything, I just scan the QR code, I say what I want, and it's all in real time. It's like magic. Somebody shows up with
Wow.
another plate of nachos. So it's been really, really fun building this, especially some of the technology that we've done, what we call trigger codes. We now have these things that you can put in bathrooms. You don't even have to tell anything. You just scan the QR code, and as soon as you scan it, it sends a message that the restroom needs attention or that you're out of sanitizers. So they're smart codes. And people now are really comfortable with the QR codes, uh, because of the touchless during the pandemic. And Apple and Google did a great job of integrating the QR code technology into the camera. So now you don't have to have a special app or anything like that. Everybody knows how to use them.
Yeah, I always joke. I say COVID did a few really great things, and one of the things COVID did for us is it taught us how to use QR codes at restaurants, right?
Yeah,
Because all the restaurants didn't have a choice. And so all of a
right.
sudden, my mother knows now how to use her camera on her phone besides taking a picture. So I think I'm surprised that QR codes haven't even taken off more than they have, but I think we're just starting to see them, appear
Yeah.
as
I mean, we're
well.
even integrating payment now into the fold, where if you want to pay for something, you just scan the QR code, and then you pay immediately right then and there. So a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, we were having a yard garage sale in my neighborhood last week, and I actually just printed out like a sheet that said each item, what the costs are, and I was able to, I can't remember if it was Zelle or Venmo. I think it was Venmo. I just got my QR code, put it there, and just say send the money here, and people couldn't believe it. They're like, "Why
Yeah,
would you do that?" I'm like, "Well, I don't want to sit there all day and waste my time, and if somebody wants to steal something, that's fine."
yeah,
But, people did. I got paid. And they
yeah.
took my belongings and it worked out perfect. So I figured I'd wing it in worst case scenario. I lost stuff I didn't want anyway.
My son actually, he's painting curbs right now. He's 14 years old, to save up for a car when he turns 16, and he has a little sign with a QR code for a
That's what
customer.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah, so that he's getting
Yeah.
paid through Venmo, and I mean he has
Yep.
like four, so Venmo, PayPal, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
it's
Make
a whole
people
new wave.
comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, let's talk more about customer service. I mean, let's talk about, we have the consumer and then we have the business, right? Who cares, right? At the end of the day, I think that unfortunately a lot of store managers, right? If you don't get a great manager, they don't care.
right. So
But there's accountability too. So if the store would implement something like this, in many ways, the manager is called out and you know where you have problems, and all of a sudden you're rating your stores across the country, right?
Right.
based on
So
issues too.
we just launched a Ford dealership. I'm not going to say where because they're pretty large in their area, but the general manager of the store said, yeah, we're having a bunch of customers defect from our service drive. They're not coming back. We get a lot of one-star reviews. So we implemented the platform, and within 2 weeks, it was evident that it was the service manager of the store that was the issue because he was bare when these feedbacks were coming in, half of them were complaining about him, and then what he was doing was burying, he was resolved, marking them as resolved in our system without ever responding to the customer. So
Wow.
we have a system. We have a system that we built inside that's escalation. If somebody doesn't respond within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you set the parameter. It automatically forwards that to his boss or her boss, and then it escalates up the chain. So now, if you know that if you don't respond, your boss is going to get a message in 10 or 15 minutes saying that John didn't respond to a feedback, you're going to be more apt to go ahead and take care of that customer.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And what how do you get started? Like how do you even get going, and who's your biggest customer? Is it mostly retail stores, I would assume, is kind of the person that this makes the most sense for?
So being that I have a book, I have a lot of experience in the automotive space from my Maestro platform. We went after the automotive space as well, and we just launched Ford at all their quick lane locations. So that's their
Yep.
express lube. So we get a lot of people that are, hey, you told me an hour for an oil change, and I've been here for an hour and 45 minutes. So a lot of people really feel anxiety about walking over to somebody, tapping them on the shoulder, goes, hey, I've been here for 2 hours. What's up? They'll just sit there, and while they're on their phone, they might be on Twitter or Instagram, and they're taking a video saying, hey, I've been here for 2 hours at the Ford store. And if they've got 1,000 followers, they just had 1,000 people that just heard that this dealership is bad. So you want to preemptively give the
Mhm.
customer a digital platform where they can communicate, and the guy could say, oh, you know what, I'm so sorry, it's getting quashed right now, I'll make sure I'll pull it around. People just want to be heard. If you give somebody a voice and you respond to them, they're much less likely to complain online than if you don't give them that platform at all.
No, very, very true. And we work in the commercial real estate sector. I'm not really strong in retail, but a lot of people that will be watching this are. And I can see where especially the benefits are in that sector, whether it's a small business or going up into larger chains where it really does matter what Domino's Pizza is, as an example. Where they're struggling, what's the biggest complaints? Is it, not giving good time estimates? I would assume that's the same with oil changes. And, I think doctors' offices need this more than anything.
Yeah, so we just launched a large clinic that has many locations, and we even have a platform that as soon as you leave, as soon as you check out, it automatically sends you a text message that says, hey, John, thanks for visiting XYZ clinic. This is the patient manager, patient experience manager. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your overall experience? If they give you 5 stars, it says great. Can you leave us a Google review? If they didn't put 5 stars, it says, I'm sorry, we didn't give you a 5 star experience. Can you let us know where we fell short? And that generates a feedback. So now I can respond, and that text message goes out within seconds after you check out. And I was going to tell you, we own our own building here in Dallas, where we have our corporate headquarters, and we have 40,000 square foot building. And what we've done here is we put QR codes throughout the building, in the bathrooms, in the elevator, because there's a lot of maintenance that goes on with a commercial building. And now sometimes we used to have it where let's say a toilet was overflowing. Well, it wasn't until it was leaking into the hallway where somebody goes, "Hey, the toilet, there's a toilet overflowing in the bathroom." So now we put QR codes in pretty much every public space there is. And now, because keep in mind that only half of the people in a building are tenants that they know where to
Yeah,
call management. The other half are visitors. They don't know where to call, and they're not going to call anyway. If they see a toilet overflowing, they're not going to call anybody. But if you put a QR code on the mirror when they're washing their hands, they're out of paper towels or whatever, they scan the QR code. Hey, you're out of paper towels. That comes straight to my maintenance guy, and he's there within 10 minutes fixing it. So
that's
now it's a beautiful communication system where you don't have to call anywhere. And speaking of Domino's, I actually own a pizza place here in Dallas called Cutie Pies that that
you're
we
making
put.
me hungry.
Yeah, it is a really good pizza. So they put they put a sticker on the pizza boxes because 90% of our business is delivery. and then it's usually through third-party apps. So when they complain about anything, it's usually through those third-party apps, Uber Eats, etc.
And they don't
But I don't
care.
want them
Yeah.
to complain through that. I want them to complain
Yeah.
directly to us. So we have QR codes on all of our boxes when you open it that says if your order is not absolutely perfect, let our manager know. And when you scan that QR code, it says my pizza was perfect. If they click on that, it goes to Google. I have an issue that goes to feedback, and that
Oh, that's
generates a
great.
feedback. So, and we're doing that actually for a bunch of fast food chains, putting the to-go stickers. If you've ever eaten at a Wendy's or McDonald's or Chick-fil-A and you leave and they forget ketchup or whatever it is, they screw up your order. I don't know if you ever had that experience.
Uh,
Calling that store is such a,
And
some
they
kid
don't care.
answers,
Yeah.
and they go, "Can I speak to a manager?" Yeah, sure, no problem. You sit there for another 5 minutes on hold. You hear everybody yelling in the background. Finally, they come to the phone, but it's a hassle. A lot of times, you just gotta say, "Screw it, I'm not going to call." But if you make it easy, scan the code. Somebody gets it, and they actually can document that in our system that somebody gets a free meal next time. They can reference it next time. So it's a really well put together platform that allows businesses to take care of the unhappy customers quickly.
Yeah, and I like the concept of you're kind of controlling the message of where it's going. If you give them an easier place to go where they feel like they can get a result instead of going to Twitter, as an
Right,
example. It's so funny. I posted a picture and it was just being silly of my dog, waiting for the delayed flight, who is just clearly doesn't want to be in the bag anymore.
right.
And immediately Southwest is, it was Southwest, so super great attention, really responsive. But I'm like, wow, I didn't mean for the hassle. I don't think most companies even pay attention like Southwest does, but I can see where what you've done is you've enabled all size companies and all types of businesses to get this type of information. And I would assume your technology allows some type of mutual integrations or some type of integrations if they already have an established system in place.
Right, CRM. So we can tie into Salesforce, or if you have Qualtrics or Medallia. So a
Yeah,
lot of people, when we first talk to them about that, goes, "Oh, I got something like that. I've got a survey platform." I go, "Well, when does your customer get that survey? They're long gone. They're
yeah,
back home. They've already had their experience. They've probably told a couple of people." So it's there's an 80-20 rule. 80% of customers will never say a thing. They might tell their friends and family, but they're not going to post online. They're not going to go on Yelp. They'll just not come back. It's a
right.
20%, Yelpers are only about 20% of the population, but it's the 80% that you really have to worry about. Why are my customers leaving and not saying anything? And you just don't know. But if you let them, there's a new metric that's really followed closely now called CES, customer to effort score. If you make it easy for the customer to engage with you when there's an issue, they'll be more likely to come back because now they know that you really, like you said, they're listening and they care.
Yeah.
So
So do you think it really matters in the grand scheme of things? A lot of people just think, "Oh, I had a bad experience." And, maybe the manager thinks, "So what if they don't come back? Somebody else will come." But in the grand scheme of things, it does matter, doesn't it? Customer service?
yeah, it's crazy because I mean we all have customer service nightmares, and you can recall them if somebody goes, "Hey, what's a bad experience you had at Walmart?" or "What's a bad experience?" and you can
Right.
easily remember, "Yeah, one time I was there." So it stays in our frame of mind. And
Right.
I mean, and conversely, if I have a great experience, you might not tell as many people, but it's still when somebody asks you about a place, you say, "Yeah, I had a great experience there." But it does matter, especially in today's where a bad experience can travel around the world in a microsecond. You remember that situation? I think it was United where that passenger got dragged off the plane. I mean, they lost $1 billion in value in like 3 days from that post of somebody posting a guy getting kicked off, an airline. So, it matters more than any time than ever before. A lot of times when we're putting our presentations together for clients that we're uh, promoting the product to, we'll pull a Google review that they really had from somebody that posted at one of the locations, like a really bad one. And most reviews have like thousands of views on them. I mean, that's thousands of people reading a bad experience. And I always go, whenever I want to look at a company, if I want to eat at a restaurant or if I want to go to a hotel, I always look at the worst ones because I
Yeah.
expect to have good service. I want to see what the horror stories are because those really tell you how bad management might be.
Right. No, very true. Have you done anything in the security space? Like when I think of you're doing it yourself kind of in your office building, but I would look at that kind of a call center, right, being available, which you already have in place, and
Right.
some type of kind of first alert from a security level, with maybe roaming floating guards. Have you
We
done
we
anything in
are
that?
we are in the process of launching a bunch of storage facilities, because
Okay.
storage facilities currently, if you've been to one lately,
Yep.
they don't have anybody in the office anymore. They
No,
usually have
that's
like,
exactly
yeah, they have like 10 people managing. They have one manager managing like 10 locations, and they're never on site. So how does a customer interact with anybody? So we're actually putting QR codes throughout the facility or around the buildings when you first come into the gate, that you can scan and talk straight to a manager. And then on top of that, we've built software that the very first time you sign up for the storage and you go there to put your items, you've probably never spoken to anybody. It's all online. So when you
right.
show up and you put in your keypad code in to get in the first time, 5 minutes later, you get a text saying, "Hey, thanks for choosing XYZ Storage. This is John, the manager. If there's anything you need, click on this link and let me know." And then it sends them to the real-time feedback page for that location. So now they can have a conversation. Make it easy for the customer to communicate with you, and they'll stay longer for sure.
Yeah, I would think at a larger building complex where you have maybe a multi-building, office building structures where a property manager to be able to have that kind of insight, they would never know that on the third floor at the end of the hallway, there's four pizza box stacked for 2 weeks. I mean, they might
Exactly.
not ever know that without somebody and you make it so hard where you have to go get a phone number. I mean, if it was right there in every hallway to
Right.
scan to say, hey, there's a mess on the fourth floor, you have to make it easier, or you can't
Yeah.
expect people to know that there's an issue, right?
Yeah, I mean, somebody got stuck in our elevator a couple of months ago when, I mean, they saw the QR code and scanned us and say, "Hey, I'm stuck in the elevator. We had a power outage at the building."
Yeah.
And luckily, I was able to call somebody, and they went and opened the door for them. But you never know if you have. And can you imagine how many people are gonna? Not that a building cares about. I mean, they can also care about reputation, but
Yeah.
also, you want to have a good experience for all your people. And just communication in a world that's filled with communication. It's crazy to me that we walk into stores and sometimes you can walk around for 10 minutes looking for somebody to help and nobody's there. We're actually doing a pilot program with a well-known, it's still under hush hush, but it's a well-known home improvement store, and we're putting QR codes in their wood cutting area, that when you scan, you ever know if you ever gone
Yeah.
to whatever.
One of them. Yeah.
And yeah, one of them, and you're waiting in an area, and you keep on hearing them called over the intercom, but nobody shows up
Oh, yeah.
because they get deaf to that, and a lot of people are not paying attention. But if I scan a QR code, and as soon as I scan it, automatically sends whoever has the key. Walmart, for example, doesn't have anybody in their jewelry counters anymore
Right.
because they have a phone, but people hate talking on phones anymore. I
Yeah.
got kids, and I call my kids, and they don't answer, but and they text me back, "What do you want?" Like, I want you to answer the phone is what I want.
Yeah.
But the younger generation, 40 under, that grew up behind cell phones and computers and all that, it's increasingly, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to. It's all digital. Text me,
Yeah.
IM me, whatever it is, WhatsApp, but don't talk to me. Don't call me.
So when you flip this around, how does an employer promote great customer service within?
So, the ones that really have a lot of engagement on our platform is the ones that employees, because employees love getting great feedback, compliments, etc.
It boosts them.
So,
Yeah.
right, it does. And if you train your employees that when somebody's checking out, say, "Hey, while I'm checking you out, there's a QR code right there. Can you scan it and let our manager know how your experience was here today?" A lot of times they're going to give a compliment to the employee. We have a lot of restaurants on the platform where the server goes, "Hey, if I did a great job or if I didn't do a great job, let my manager know. Scan that QR code." I
Yeah.
mean, good customers love that kind of stuff. If you gave me great service and I can tell your manager and give you a boost in your morale and all that stuff, of course I'm happy to do it. It just, people rarely would call a manager over and say, "Hey, Jenny's doing a great job." It's out of the way. But if somebody says, "Hey, can you scan that QR code and go straight to my manager?" Of course I can.
Right.
So that's really, you have to have a culture where employees are asking for feedback constantly, and not only for compliments, but what wasn't great, let my manager know. And me as a customer, I mean, I really, really appreciate when I have a voice and I can send the manager something and they respond to me. We're actually building something that, because for businesses that really want to go over the top, that the manager can actually do a voice recording, do a video recording, and send that back to the customer. One time I had a manager do that to me. I was like blown away. I go, they responded to me. I complained about something and I got an email back. and it was an actually video recording of
Video.
the manager apologizing. That's really, really strong. I forwarded to like 20 people. I go, check this out.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So a lot of companies right now are kind of on the, we hope, on the flip side of the pandemic, and a lot of companies have been in unique situations where, they don't have their employees necessarily all together anymore. They're trying to figure out what's next. What advice do you have for business leaders as they kind of navigate tomorrow?
Yeah, look, the front line for any business is the employee. And the employee sees things on the ground that management or corporate never sees. So if you give them a great pipeline of communication and let them actually affect the way that the business is run, saying, hey, we really care about your values and your views and etc. We want you to tell us wherever you see room for improvement. Here's a QR code and also URL that you can go to. We actually built a function that's called hashtag EMP. So when you leave a feedback, you can put hashtag EMP and it designates it that it comes from an employee rather than a customer. And we get a lot of utilization from that, from people complaining about other employees, for example, or hey, every time I come here, I show up, 3 employees aren't here with me, and I got to deal with customers on my own. But these are things that usually a lot of businesses don't have the proper channel for
Mhm.
that employee to really to know that management is getting it, because you can complain to your maybe your system manager and they go, yeah, whatever. But if you know that the store manager is getting your feedback, you're going to be much more inclined to let them know, and that you can submit it anonymously is even better, because there's almost zero platforms that I can, if I want to send my boss an email, I got to make a fake email account and then send them an email. This way you can send it and know that that it got heard, and it goes
Right.
straight to the top. So, listen to the employees. We have our call center, for example, during the pandemic, we went virtual like everybody else. And then about a year ago, okay, guys, it's starting to thaw out. COVID is starting. It's not that big of a deal anymore. Can we get back in? And we heard a resounding no way. We're
Mm.
coming back. Now, if we would have implemented that without doing like an employee survey, we used feedback to get people's idea. If we would have just made a blanket rule, hey, everybody's coming back without really taking a vote, we would have been. I mean, we'd have had a bunch of people quit. So you
Wow.
got to listen to your employee base, because there are so many opportunities for employees now to go somewhere else. I mean, everybody's hiring.
Yeah.
So you got to really make sure that the employees are happy. You're listening to them, take their advice, take the good things into consideration, and see, well, work together to make a better environment for your customers.
I love it. Thank you, Adam. Our purpose for Evolve is to really allow leaders a place to learn, connect, and grow together. And thank you so much for taking your time. And thank you for sharing so much wisdom with us. And please, everybody, follow us on social media and stay tuned as we evolve together. Thanks again.
Thank you.